It's NFL Week 6. Welcome back to the Game Plan, brought to you by DFS Army and the Sharp app, where we take a look at all of the games on the NFL Week 6 slate from a betting and DFS angles perspective. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, for breaking it down. As always, I've got my man, the sports betting goat himself, the head honcho over at Sharp app, Mr. John Statsational, Alessia, to break it down with us. What's going on, John? How you feeling about this week?
I don't know, man. I'm just, you know how I am. Wednesday, I'm just kind of getting in the groove. So I got some good stuff though that I put some spreadsheets that I put together. You know, I do the spreadsheet. We'll talk about it during the show, but I've got that spreadsheet where I got the plus minus above or below the average in fantasy points, DFS points,
Yes.
DraftKings specifically. So I got that going now. Now that we got 5 weeks, we could really start to look at that. I actually posted in our the Sharp Discord. I posted some of that for the subscribers over there. So
Nice.
if you're in DFS Army Discord, you need to be also in the Sharp app Discord.
Absolutely. And not to mention your power rankings, which I use heavily for my DFS play. And it's just starting to really kick in. I'll give you a little example of the power rankings for this week. Are they updated? Yes.
They are updated.
Yeah, I'll give a little example, but gives us an idea of what to expect from a fantasy performance perspective. So I'm just looking at Chicago, Washington here. And yeah, of course, not a whole lot of passing yards in the cards for Washington for that Thursday night game, but we'll get into that. We'll get into every single game, and let's just jump right into it. Bringing up the Sharp app game tiles, we can see we're going to start on the main slate. So we're going to skip the Thursday. People, you're watching this, maybe it's Friday, maybe that game already passed. We're going to do the main slate Sunday games, and I'm starting with Baltimore at the Giants. Baltimore 5-point road favorites in this one with a 44.5 point total. Anything stand out to you there on the lines, John?
No, I'm just hold on, just bringing that up now to see. I forgot that we're going to be jumping into the lines. I got so focused on DFS. Let me bring up Sharp app and see what we got going on as far as any sharp money on that game. Yeah, give me 1 second.
That's all right.
Give me the DFS, and then I'm going to get back to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, so taking a look at this game from a DFS angle, first thing is Lamar Jackson can really do his thing in any game, right? Lamar Jackson can pop up. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the games that Lamar Jackson has popped off on, they were completely nondescript so far this season, like the game against Miami at home. There was nothing that stood out about the game. That's Lamar. So Lamar is priced the same as Mahomes and Josh Allen this week. They're in this another triumvirate of sort of elite quarterbacks. And essentially you're betting on which one of that trio is going to score the most points if you're paying the high-priced quarterback price point. So he's in the mix for me because he's Lamar and he has a 40-plus upside, even though this game is nondescript, even though there's nothing that stands out that says, oh, Lamar's going to throw or rush for a whole lot or he's going to be a 48-pointer. I don't think it's going to happen. It's not my favorite, but certainly have to keep him in mind. On the Giants side, it's just Saquon Barkley. So Lamar, Andrews, Devin Duvernay's been doing pretty damn good with Rashad Bateman out, I guess. But the volume, even with Bateman out, isn't insane. But I'm interested if Bateman's out again. But primarily it's Lamar, Mark Andrews for Baltimore. And the only real player of note on the Giants is Saquon Barkley. And I'm not super interested in it. I'm a little interested in it.
Well, let me give you the sports betting breakdown. So almost 90% of the cash that we're seeing coming in on Baltimore. And then, you know, we've got the Sharp report, which Anthony updates for us, get access to an offshore sports book. And they're kind of confirming what we're seeing with the handles in that they need the Giants in this game. So the sports book really needs the Giants. I don't have a lean one way or the other. Total, it's at 45. Our model likes it at 42. So maybe a little value on the under. From the DFS perspective, like I said, now looking at that spreadsheet where I look at the plus minuses, you're getting, obviously Lamar is showing up in the top tier of quarterbacks here, and then Barkley is going to be one of the better running back options, and then of course tight end. So there's nothing really super unusual other than the fact that running backs for Baltimore, disgusting. Wide receiver, like you said, maybe a little bit, but they're showing up red. Looking for 22.6 total points from wide receivers, which is absolutely nothing on the Baltimore side. It's actually a little bit better for the Giants. And obviously, like I said, tight end for Baltimore is going to be probably, it's like the third best play for this week as far as the tight end goes.
One thing I wanted to point out that I noticed about Baltimore, and you'll start to see this in your numbers, is they just started out with a lot of injuries in the secondary. Their secondary is actually very, very good with Marlon Humphrey and other guy whose name I forgot just now. But they have two actually really, really good defenders, and they were hurt earlier in the season. I think that the wide receiver numbers are going to come down. Darius Slayton is a super, super cheap WR1 for the Giants, and he's the WR1 and he's very cheap. But this is just a bad matchup for the Giants throwing game, as much as people might not realize that based on the DVP numbers, because I don't want to have Slayton against Marlon Humphrey. That is not a matchup I'm trying to target, even when the guy is cheap. All right, next up, we've got the Bucs, Tampa, heading out to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. 44-point total. Bucs 8-point road favorites. And John, for me, this is another sort of nondescript game from a DFS perspective. Game total under 44 isn't the best, although the Tampa team total is pretty good here. It's over 25, or it's about 25. Actually, I got to do some quick mental math. It's exactly 25. 26. Anyway, it's hard to do that in live time, but the Tampa team total is good enough to target, I think, Brady and his guys. We saw last week what happens in a game where Brady's just where the Bucs are just cruising. Brady can style a little bit, but there's also that possibility of Leonard Fournette, aka Uncle Fat Lenny, coming in and taking all the goodness. So yeah, I think the Bucs here can get 3 to 4 touchdowns, no problem. If Brady gets 3 of them, he'll be interesting. He's priced down this week, so he's away from the far enough away from the Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson elite tier of quarterbacks to the point where it's worth a shot. And I always love the pass catchers for Brady, Godwin, and Evans. So the whole Bucs side looks pretty good. On the Steelers, there is but one player who I'm interested in, and I'm very interested in this guy. That's George Two-Tap Pickens. Pickens coming off 8 receptions last week, super cheap. The guy is a stud, and the breakout is coming. It happened already. I kind of think he put up almost 100 yards last week in a brutal game, even with Pickett at the quarterback position. So I loves me some Pickens on the Pittsburgh side. I wish the matchup was a little better. I don't care. I love Pickens and pretty much anybody on the Bucs for DFS purposes.
Well, on the betting side, we've got no shocker here, but the sportsbook letting us know that they need Pittsburgh in this game. The squares all over Tampa. Nobody's going to bet Pittsburgh. Certainly after last week, they haven't looked good, obviously, all year. Last week, I was on Buffalo. One of the rare times I'll ever lay that many points, but Pittsburgh's definitely one of the worst teams in football. You had a quarterback starting his first game against that defense. Not good. And now, not a bad defense that he's going to be going up against this week. So yeah, I'm not too excited about it. Yeah, it's pretty tough start and a pretty tough go. You look at the numbers, right? And also just want to note that we did get some sharp money come in on the under as well. But when you look at the numbers, the Pittsburgh is giving up the most points against the average of their opponents to the wide receiver position of any team right now in football. They've given up 15 more points than teams have averaged at that position. That's a lot, right? And then another bad point for Pittsburgh is the running back, their running back situation. They're the second worst behind Baltimore. They're right behind. It's Baltimore, the Rams, and Pittsburgh. Those are the 3 worst teams offensively for the running back. And
you know what's funny about that trio? It's like the only one of them that has a marquee brand name running back on the team is Pittsburgh. People drafted Najee Harris
first round.
The top. I was like, what are you doing? I had an argument with Seslowski preseason about this. I was like, what why is Najee Harris a first round pick? The team sucks. What are you seeing? No,
here's the thing about him. The only reason I do have him on one team is because he was a keeper, and at the price, I just had to keep him. But I wasn't really a fan going into the year because I don't like guys who rely on the kind of volume that he was a ton of volume with no efficiency.
No, horrible.
So you can't rely on that to sustain itself over the course of a year again, and then God forbid any sort of injury. So I don't like that situation at all. But I just thought it was noteworthy. I mean, that's how bad Pittsburgh is. And then of course we know Tampa against the running backs, always pretty good. And they've been elite again this year. They're one of the best. They're the second best to
you don't want to mess. Rams. You don't want to mess with that at all.
So you can't touch it.
No, don't want to mess with that at all.
They've been great. Tampa's been great against. That's why their offense really hasn't been that great, because their games have been really defensive minded. They've been one of the better teams against the quarterback position in fantasy, one of the better teams against wide receiver, almost the best team, like I said, second to the Rams against the running back position. So it's going to be real difficult. I mean, I like the player in Pickens, but that's going to be that's a tough situation to target.
It's mostly just for the cheapness of it. I liked him last week too against the Bills, but I avoided using him for the reasons that you mentioned. He actually had a fine game. He did good for the price point. So I just think he's so good. He might be able to, he's not being treated as the WR1 or 2. So he's also not getting sort of the Dean, the High Chief Jamel Dean treatment with Tampa. That's going to be on Deontay Johnson. So there's a good chance that Pickens won't see the toughest defenders in this one. And they're going to have to throw. They can't run the football. So I like Pickens. Moving on. Let's, or actually before we move on, what about a bet? I mean, are you laying 8 here with Tampa?
I'm not. I mean, just Tampa hasn't shown to me that they're deserve. I understand the line, but for me to bet it, they're not deserving yet. They haven't really put together. They had the situation last week. Yeah, they haven't done it. I mean, they could have lost that game last week. Now I didn't see the other call. Someone had told me that
it was a terrible call.
I no, that call I saw, but I heard that there should have been pass interference earlier, like the play before. I did not see that. And then of course the call against Brady, but that call against Brady does not happen. They're off the field. Atlanta's driving to try to win that game. So, that could have been a totally different game without that call. Tampa just hasn't looked that good. They looked dominant defensively in the Dallas game, week 1, but the offense just hasn't clicked. And I know a lot of people were on Tampa last week. I kind of liked them as well. By the time Saturday rolled around, I did a serious show on Saturday night. By the time Saturday rolled around, I thought they were a good fade candidate because after looking at the numbers, they just haven't done it yet. And in a game like this, listen, they've got. I mean, there's no reason that they can't put up a ton on Pittsburgh, but I still don't trust what's going on with that offensive line. They've got weapons, but I don't trust the line. And when you have a 45-year-old quarterback with a line that isn't that great, I'm worried about the offense for Tampa until they show me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm less concerned. They were missing a lot of weapons. Mike Evans had the suspension. Godwin been out of the whole season. That's a problem for this team. And now that they have those guys back, I really think they're going to be just fine. I really do. And I think last week we saw the floor from Tom Brady, and it was 22 fantasy points. Wasn't even that bad, considering that Lenny got all the touchdowns. If you have another version of that game where Tom throws for one more touchdown, a couple more yards, he's not passing Josh Allen on that slate, but he was a lot cheaper of a play, and he might have made his way into the nuts. Who knew? But yeah, the pass catchers did not put up big numbers last week, but I'm going right back to him. All right. Next up, we have got the 49ers on the road, taking on the Falcons, 5.5-point road favorites. Now, John, just looking again at the bets here, man, I like San Francisco here. I think 5.5 isn't enough. They're a significantly better team than Atlanta. Atlanta's been sort of getting by on smoke and mirrors, but they're going to get this nasty San Francisco defense. I don't think it's a good spot for Atlanta at all. I thought they smoke and mirrored it last week against the Bucs to even keep in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to like on this Atlanta team, but what's interesting is, I don't like the game. I would agree with you. I would kind of lean towards the San Francisco side of this game. San Francisco, to me, if it's not Philly, San Francisco is probably the second best team in the NFC right now. What's interesting about what we're seeing, I think, across football is some of the top teams, or a majority of the top teams, are really defensive oriented. Even Buffalo, I'm counting Buffalo in there where they're the best defense. I know everyone wants to look at Josh Allen. Everyone wants to look at Jalen Hurts. Those are all really good defensive teams that are really rising to the top right now in the NFL.
Complete. It's weird. There are some really complete offense, defense teams, and then there are some just disasters on one side or the other, and then just disasters on both sides, like my beloved Jets. But yeah, as far as this game goes, from a DFS point of view, there's almost nothing to like here. Jeff Wilson Jr. is in a good spot. You can go right back to that, but his salary is now up in the 6K range on DraftKings, and he's not the kind of player that you need 24 to 26 fantasy points. I think he could get there, but there's not a lot of passing game work to make it an easy path to crushing value for him. Like, he could do it, but it's going to be a little bit of work for him to get there. I don't really like Deebo Samuel in this style of game that I do not believe will be competitive. Again, I'm throwing out the 5.5. I don't really see a competitive game happening here. I think San Francisco is going to be able to handle them defensively, and then what they do on offense will be a bonus. But San Francisco's not a team to put points on an opponent just for the fun of it. So, I don't really see like them running up the score with Atlanta. And Atlanta plays slow. They're running the football every play. They play super slow. Scoring is just generally muted in these games. So for me, I don't see a whole lot of fantasy goodness.
You see a guy who's been getting dropped in season long leagues is Pitts.
Oh yeah, you could drop Pitts.
It's amazing.
Pitts, I was making Joe. I was just kidding around on Twitter, but there were all these Twitter fantasy football bros this offseason. We're talking about how if you allow Pitts to get past the third round of your draft, you're an idiot. And you'll regret it. And I will have I don't understand it. I didn't get it then, and I don't get it now. I came out very clearly and said there's only two ways to go at tight end. You either pay up for Kelsey or Andrews, or you are one of the last people in your league to take one, because all the ones taking them in the middle are going to regret it. And the Dalton Schultz people and the George Kittle, I never understood that. George Kittle people, and you're taking, so I don't get it. I don't get the Pitts love. I get he was a high draft pick. He's done nothing in his career. I think he's fine, but they don't throw the football a lot on that team. So I think Pitts is a perfectly fine rest of the season tight end if he's healthy, but he's not better than Goddard or Ertz or any of those guys. He's basically the same. He belongs in the same category with Higbee and all the rest of them.
It was a terrible draft pick in real football, I thought.
It's always a bad pick. Always
you
a bad
can't take
pick.
I don't care how special a talent you think he is. You can't take a tight end. If you told me you were drafting Tony Gonzalez and he's going to be Tony Gonzalez for the rest of his, I'm not drafting him in with the fourth.
I would take Tony Gonzalez. I would take T. Gons in the first round.
Yeah, I'm just not taking him on that team. I should I didn't finish. Right. Yeah. When you had Matt Ryan as the quarterback and you obviously needed a quarterback, you needed a whole lot on that team. I'm not drafting tight end. Like, that's the last place I'm looking for. When they did it that day, I tweeted out like, this is the dumbest pick of all time. And I thought it was a dumb pick for fantasy this year for all the reasons that you stated. So, but yeah, this is not a great game for DFS purposes.
Yeah, let's just skip it. But can I bet San Francisco -5.5? Can I put them on my survivor pool?
Well, Survivor, that's interesting. People are taking them in Survivor. Listen, go watch my Survivor podcast. It's like 15 minutes and it's good.
So good.
But the if you're in a small pool, you're basically going chalk, which is the Rams this week. And I almost like the Rams even in larger pools. You'll see it all on that podcast. But the San Francisco is like the third or fourth choice right now in Survivor pools this week.
Watch the Rams lose to the new head coach narrative.
Well, are you going to be shocked with any loss in the way the NFL? I mean, the NFL's been crazy. I mean, there's been a big loss every week at least.
There are some that I would be shocked. For example, if Tampa lost, Tampa would be the team I would put in my Survivor.
And they're not as big a favorite as the Rams.
Yeah, but everybody's playing the Rams, so of course you don't want to do that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, I want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy. And listen, we talk about them every week on the show. They have these really, really great tournaments that they run, not just for Thursday Night Football, which you can see the Thursday Nighter here, 1,400 entries, but the main slate one, $25 entry, 4,444 entrants, $100,000 prize pool. And this thing doesn't even fill halfway. That's what's so awesome about it. So if you go and sign up at Thrive using promo code ARMY, if you do $100 deposit, they will give you $100 deposit match plus 2 tickets to enter this. So $100 gets you a $100 deposit match plus another $50 worth of tickets to enter this tournament. And it's fairly simple tournament. We've talked about it many times. You just pick the over under on a number of these props and try to score the most. Take the higher number if you can. Try to score the most points and boom, submit it. Biggest score wins. So check out Thrive Fantasy. Promo code ARMY gets you a $100 deposit match and 2 tickets to enter this big 100K tournament, which will have endless amounts of overlay. We love overlay, John.
Overlay is awesome.
You know what overlay is like? Overlay is like going to the blackjack table and there's only 2 decks. And you're counting cards.
Yeah. And they don't shuffle.
And they're not shuffling every... Oh, they better not shuffle.
Yeah, if they shuffle after every hand, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, that ruins it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the one time you can skew all the EV in your favor, even if you're not that good. Like, when there's overlay there, you're probably going to win money. All right. Next game on the docket. Vikings at Miami. Miami, I believe, said it's going to be Skyler back at the helm again this week, which is a little bit of a surprise considering Teddy Bridgewater seemed fine. That's really weird for me, and it actually does not make me like a lot of the pieces from Miami. John, what are they doing over there? Minnesota, 3-point road favorites. And I'm kind of liking the Vikings.
Yeah, the line's gone up. It bounced up to 4. Now it came back down to 3.5. I saw 4 this morning. I'm on the Miami side.
You know that Skyler, the Skyler brother, not Skyler sisters, the brother, Skyler, is the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and that's what moved it. And that's what moved it up. I think when it went from 3 up to 4. I put it in at 3, thinking it was going to be Teddy. That I don't know. I'm just looking at it now because when I looked earlier, it was at 4. And now I'm seeing 3.5 pretty much everywhere.
You're having regrets about that bet, knowing Skyler.
Well, I didn't like it. Yeah, no. I mean, I liked it with Teddy at +3. I would have loved to get 3.5 or 4. Yeah, I don't like the bet nearly as much as I did yesterday when I put that.
Yeah, I don't mind it I don't mind it with Teddy. And Minnesota is definitely a team that finds a way to lose games that they shouldn't lose. But like, come on, man. I mean, they're rolling out a backup that did not look good to me last week.
Yeah, the Sharps were on Miami also at 3, which tells me they put it in when I did early in the week, and I think we all had the same thought on that. So we'll see how it goes now. If it's not going to be Teddy B.
I need to double check that info, but I mean that's what if you guys are watching this have any info, let us know.
With Teddy, now these numbers, obviously I'm taking numbers all season long. A lot of this was Tua, but this was like the best wide receiver game combined by both teams by far on the slate. And I know you might be thinking maybe the Buffalo, Kansas City, but this one I've got projected both sides over 50 points from the wide receivers, and modest scores by the quarterbacks here in the 20s. But this is where the focus is, at least according to where the numbers have been all season long. It's going to be on the wide receivers in this game.
So knowing that Miami does have one elite cornerback in Xavier Howard, Zaho. And that guy will probably be assigned to Justin Jefferson. Is this a spot where maybe targeting Minnesota and getting the alt guys like a Thielen in your lineup, who's massively overpriced in DFS, especially on DraftKings? I think he's probably okay on FanDuel, but is this a Thielen spot? Is this the Xavier Howard effect game?
I think so. I think this is a game where I think you want to get a lot of pieces on both sides, and I don't mind taking Jefferson either. I'm not terribly worried about him getting locked down in this game. So I like if you're going to game stack, to me, this is one of the games. Now the problem is, again, now I got to rethink it if it's not going to be Teddy Bridgewater, but I still want pieces, and certainly I like the Minnesota side better if it's not Bridgewater. But these are, offensively, both teams, they're second and third in wide receiver points. this year. It's all about the wide receiver. Both team. I mean, I understand you got Cook there in Minnesota, but that team wants to throw the ball now. It's no longer like a kind of run and grind it out and play defense. And similar, I know Mostert now is the guy in Miami. We all thought Edmonds was going to be the guy. Now that's pretty much done. It's no longer Edmonds. Is like you don't even need him on your season-long teams anymore.
Oh yeah.
So
by the way, Edmonds, I think 1 carry last week, couple targets. It was all Mostert.
Yeah, who's the backup now? It's not even Edmonds. Who was the second? The second
it could be Myles Gaskin. But no, but
yeah.
no, it's still Chase Edmonds.
No. I think you're going to want Gaskin in season-long leagues. I think that's a guy.
Really?
Yeah, you can pick him up for cheap, and if you have room on the bench. But I think
the team just soured. The team just soured on Chase.
That's what it looks like to me.
What the hell happened there?
But either way, it's Mostert's game. But even so, I'm not all that excited about running back.
I see what you mean here, by the way, on the yardage totals: 300 for Minnesota, 298 passing yards. So again, I'm throwing out the Miami numbers. There's no Tua there. Yeah. It's no. I just confirmed it is Skylar Thompson. Definitely.
No, but we
starting.
don't know. What I'm saying is we just don't. Yeah, I guess we do know.
No, I don't. I do know. I don't like him.
Right. There you go.
I know I don't like him.
Exactly.
19 of 33 last week, 58.4 passer rating, a full game against a bad team in the Jets, and he only got 4 fantasy points and 166 yards. This is the bet of the year. All right, let me be the opposite of your bet is the bet of the year. Like you got to load up on Minnesota here. You got to load up. You can't trust Skylar Thompson.
This is
team just lost
you can't.
The Jets.
This is your 5-star.
Yeah, this is the
lock of the your NFL lock of the month.
Didn't I have the under last week on that horrible Monday night game? We smashed it as the play of the week. This one is you just take Minnesota. They were a full team with all of their weapons, and Miami's got Skylar fucking Thompson, a rookie who's going to throw multiple interceptions in this game. Book it. Write it down. Sharp app it. Go on the Sharp app right now, put in my pro pick so that everybody knows what my pick is for this game. I'll be doing that as we break down this next one. Bengals at the Saints. Bengals come in as road 1.5 point road favorites. Game has a 43-point disgusting total. And John, last week it was all Taysom Hill. Wow. What was even crazier was Taysom Hill was kind of high owned on FanDuel. And I was like, wait a second. Are people playing Taysom Hill? And if so, why? And I really started to think about it. He was 5% owned. Taysom freaking Hill was owned in tournaments. And I think I have a theory behind why people play him on FanDuel. You want to hear it?
I would like
Not
to hear
anymore.
the theory.
You can't.
I didn't play him.
You can't play him there now. They raised his price like a stud. But why were people playing him last week? I thought about this, right? So assuming he was close to min salary, 4,500 range. If you look at the touchdown odds for a Taysom Hill, especially when, a backup quarterback is playing for his team, like his touchdown, he's probably 50-50, maybe above 50% to score a touchdown on any given week because he has that touchdown scoring role. That role doesn't produce very well on DraftKings. You need receptions and yards. Now, of course, what he did last week aside, I'm talking about the average Taysom Hill game where he gets 3 rushes and potentially one score from the goal line. It's like on FanDuel, if you got a touchdown and maybe a reception or a couple of completions, like a couple of plays, some yardage and a touchdown, great. That's what you're looking for out of your tight end. And it probably outscores Zach Ertz, who get 6 receptions, 70 yards, no touchdown. Like a couple of little things from and for a much cheaper price. So I feel like just his touchdown upside is why because no one owned him on DraftKings, but he was fairly high owned on FanDuel relative to what I would have thought would be 0.
Yeah, I didn't play him, so that hurt me. But
it didn't hurt you on DraftKings.
No, not on DraftKings. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I forget now. He's like 1% maybe on DraftKings, but yeah. Well, the tight end, someone's going to have to come up with a way for the tight ends. They're so touchdown dependent outside of the top guys, the 2 top guys at this point. But tight end is just either you catch a touchdown or you don't. I mean, it's becoming.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
mean,
even becoming. It's almost as unpredictable as defenses are.
it's more FanDuel for me than DraftKings. On DraftKings, you can find tight ends every single week. I play Zach Ertz. He gets 10 targets every week. No one ever plays him. That's easy.
He's been a favorite of mine too.
Yeah, and joke, but no one ever plays him. Like it's just like I think it's just the two of us forcing up his ownership to 4% because he's never owned. And I was like, people don't like the targets. All right, play Higbee. He's like the same thing with the targets, except never does anything with them. So anyway, Cincinnati, New Orleans. Well, I don't know. We just went off the rails on that one.
We did,
but I don't even. I lost my place. But again, low scoring game, 43. Bengals. I cannot trust T. Higgins at this point. But one thing is when you play New Orleans, you can't really expect, or you shouldn't expect a ton of rushing. How has the New Orleans run defense been against average this year so far?
New Orleans against the run has been actually pretty decent. So they're doing 4 points better than their opponent's average. So they're one of the top teams against the run. New Orleans.
Interestingly, if you take a look at the power ranking sheet, which kind of takes that into effect, it's still predicting Cincinnati for a healthy 108 rushing yards in this game. So they're still getting kind of a healthy projection there. I'm a little surprised that
what happens is, and I'd have to look into that one, more than likely. So that's really focused on the yardage. And what I'm guessing is they just haven't given up that many touchdowns to running backs this year, which is causing their fantasy points to be a little lower.
That might be it. So the yardage more important because I did, New Orleans traditionally is not a team you want to take running backs against, but it's been less so this year from a yardage perspective than from a scoring where you're looking at the points allowed. So with T. Higgins and the ankle, I have no trust in that situation. So yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase, I think for me is a secondary piece. I don't know who the players are on New Orleans that are going to start. If Olave doesn't start, John, I don't even know what New Orleans is doing for pass catchers.
I don't know. Cincinnati's been really good against just about every position. I mean, they're one of the better teams against wide receiver, one of the better teams against quarterback in fantasy points given up, running back. So, I think they were going to be in a tough situation even with Olave. If there's no Olave, there's not much you're going to like here on the pass catching side of the game.
I think I'm betting the Bengals here, John, -1.5. Just better offense.
Yeah, the model likes it. I mean, I can't argue with you on that. The public is all over that side as well, which is always a little dangerous. But the public, of course, is going to like Cincinnati. No, listen, the public wins close to 50% of the time as well. So you got to just pick the ones that they're right on. And the unders catching a lot of money. We haven't seen any sharp money or any liabilities yet at the sports book on it. But yeah, the under. I mean, it makes sense. That the under and New Orleans or Cincinnati would be the plays the public.
I could not fathom going on the Saints side of this.
Tough to do.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do it. All right. Next up, we have got the New England Patriots taking on the Cleveland Browns. Browns home, 3-point favorites. Patriots like their third string guy. The quarterback who again name just escaped me. What's the Patriot quarterback?
Right. It's like, oh my God.
I cannot.
Zappy, right?
Zappy. Bailey Zappy. There we go.
Yeah.
They like the kid, and they like the way he played last week. Fine by me. But what excites me about this game, and it's only one player, Ramondre Stevenson. That is the spot. Now, a lot of people might not be aware, and actually, let's bring up the power rankings because I want to see if it agrees. Yes, it does. Now, Cleveland, I expect to see a monster rushing number for Cleveland. What you don't expect is to see a monster rushing number from New England, but the Browns' run defense has been particularly bad this season. They are not very good, and when you get the Patriots focusing all of their effort on one guy, because Damian Snacks Harris probably going to be out this week, and this assumes that he will be out. Ramondre, for me, is the top play in DFS of the week. Across all formats, whatever, FanDuel, DraftKings, I don't care. He's the top play. Give him some passing game work, all the rushing work for a Patriots team that's going to run the football. The only thing we don't have on our favor here is that he's not favored. He's a 3-point underdog on the road. But beyond that, everything is pointing to a smash for Ramondre. Don't forget about Dre this week.
Couldn't agree with you more. From the betting side, 2.5 right now is the line, 43.5 on the total. The model thinks, a little bit of value on the New England side of this game, which I can see as well. I'm kind of tall. I haven't put anything on this game. I don't think I'm going to have this game. I think I would lean the New England side. I kind of like their defense. And I think the kid's been fine at quarterback. I mean, quite frankly, Mac Jones was okay. He's been fine, but I think this kid has done just as well. And so I don't think they've lost much. This is not an offensive-minded team. And right now, like you said, Ramondre, he's running the ball really well. When we look at from the fantasy standpoint, this game on my numbers it just stood out for running backs. So it's got 32, a prediction of 32.3 points, DFS points for Cleveland, and 31.5 for New England out of the running back position this week. Both of those numbers, that is 1 and 2 in the running back projected for the entire slate. So this is going to be a running game. If it's a running game, perhaps that's why we may like the under, and that under was 43.5. So we keep it on the ground. I don't mind the under in this game here. And, New England's going to try to play it close. Listen, New England's that Detroit came in last week with the number one offense, scoring a ton of points.
They blanked them.
They got shut down by New England.
Generally, you don't want to be challenging the New England Patriots defense. They're going to play well. They know that Detroit is coming in here trying to run the football. And when Bill Belichick knows what you're going to do and they game plan for it, they usually come up with a pretty good plan to stop what you're doing, because they're about to ruin. Wait. All right, stop what you're doing.
Because they're about to ruin
the fucking running offense that you're bringing. I don't know. I was gonna try something there. Gonna try to.
Your freestyle is not what it used to be.
No, it's. I'm out of practice. I was gonna try a little
Humpty dance for.
That's
for you
what
youngins,
that's from. The Humpty
for
dance.
you youngins who didn't know that.
I like that you know it. Do you know how to do the Humpty dance? If you guys are watching, if you know how to do the Humpty dance,
you shake.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Shake it aside like your legs was broken.
Yeah, there it is.
Shaking and twitching, kind of like I was smoking.
There it is. On that note, if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You want more betting content, more DFS content. That's everything that we do. And let us know in the comments on these games which side you're on. You're going with the sharps. You're going with the squares. DFS plays you love this week. Hate plays that we're pushing that you hate. Love all of that. So bring it. As far as a bet, so back into it, John. As far as a bet for this one, I've got nothing. I would have to lean New England +3. If I was playing it, I'm playing the New England side. I'm not sure I'm going to pull the trigger here. I'm not sure yet. That one I might just skip it. I'm not getting a strong feel. But if I'm taking a side, I think New England can win the game. And anytime I think a team can win a game and they're getting points, I'm going to go that way.
Yeah, well, that's how you should always look at it. You really want to be betting teams more often than not, teams that you do think can win a game. So yeah, I agree with you there. And one point that you mentioned that I hadn't, I didn't think of when we were talking about it was you said Belichick really shuts down their best option. They really only have one option on the Cleveland side, which is running the ball. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see if he stacks up. And that's probably what he's going to do is, hey, let's stop Chubb. If he does that, how well can Cleveland counter that? So I like that. It's not a play, but if you ask me for leans on both sides, I like New England in the under.
There we go. All right. Next up, we've got my beloved New York Jets heading out to Green Bay to take on Angry Rodgers, who just lost in London to the Giants. Wow. What a disaster that was for one of my parlays last week. I got to tell you, I teased down the score of that game to -2.5 Packers, thinking lock it up, free money.
It looked good.
Looked good until it didn't. So now the resurgent New York Jets taking on the Packers here. And, whenever the Jets start to get a little bit of a big head, John, coming off a win, you don't want to be on their side. They usually let you down. And that's what I'm expecting here this week. I expect the Jets kind of let us down a little bit. Packers defense, pretty good. Road game. I don't know what you're seeing here, but that's kind of my betting sense.
Yeah, so from a betting standpoint, I do like a side in this game. I'll keep it to myself. I got to keep a few of these for the subscribers over at the Sharp app, but I do have a side that I took. The money's coming in predominantly on the Jets, about 3/4 of the money on the Jets side of this game. Again, 7.5. You can get it at 7 or 7.5, depends on where you're at. 45.5 on the total. The model does like the Jets on this game as well, kind of a little bit on the under from the model that we have inside of the app. So
I'm always amazed. These lines are moving while we're doing the show, not because we're doing it, but just how quickly the lines move.
Yeah, lines. Listen, they're going to move throughout the week, and the sharps are always getting in early in the week. Like I said, sometimes it burns you, like they did with the Miami game. But more often than not, the sharps are going to want to get in early and try to catch the best lines. You should be looking at these every single day and try to get those best lines. You don't want to miss one again. A game like this, if you like this game, and of course you want to get that 7.5, you're going to need multiple sports books. Some will have it at 7.5. Some are going to have it at 7. And if you like the Jets, you hate to miss out on getting the 7.5, right? And if you like Green Bay, you don't want this to move off the 7 and go up to 7.5. And now you got to lay that hook. So be aware of that. Sharp app certainly helps you out with all that. But from a DFS standpoint, Green Bay, like you said, been really good defensively. They've held quarterbacks 5 points under their average. They've held wide receivers 6.5 points under their average. Tight ends 5 points under their average. The one strong thing that you get from the Jets offensively is the running back position. And that's kind of where Green Bay's been neutral at the running back position. And that's the Jets' best offensive position. So we'll see. It's been really Breece Hall now has moved into being the guy, I think, in that offense for the Jets. So we'll see. That could be the one spot if the game remains close, but we're in it's kind of a bad game script situation, being a 7-point dog, taking the running back in that situation. We usually don't like to do it.
I don't love the Packers running backs either, to be honest with you. Too much of a split going on there for my taste. Aaron Jones is going to pop off every once in a while, but he's got to do it on efficiency, and it's just not a spot I like to pay up for. But it's probably the best spot on the Packers this week. But like I said, I'm not super into Aaron Jones. Like, he just splits carries, and that's fine. But price him at 5,500, not at 7,500 to get me interested. You didn't get me interested because you're charging too much for the player. As far as Breece Hall, I agree with you. I think he's a good spot. I don't like any of the pass catchers on the Jets. I don't think we could figure out which of the three of them is ever going to be featured. If there is one that's featured, it's going to be a bad scene all year. I'm not into it. Lazard, I do like for the Packers. He's fine. He's always going to get 5, 6, 7 targets every week. I expect more of the same here for him. I don't hate Packers defense either. It's still Zach Milfson doing his thing here. So, not a whole lot to love here from a DFS point of view. All right. Next up, we've got the Jaguars heading out to Indianapolis, take on the Colts. Jaguars are 1.5-point road underdogs. Game has a 42-point total. Now, from a DFS perspective, Jaguars have just been brutal to target at all this season, and the running back position just gets weirder and weirder every single week. It's Etienne, it's Robinson, it's Jamal Agnew. They'll find another name to squeeze in there and just keep the ball out of Etienne's hands, but I don't trust any of them. None of it. I don't trust Kirk either. So looking, my one guy that I do like on the Jaguars every week is Zay Jones. I just believe in Zay. But there's nothing special about this week that makes him stand out. On the flip side, for the Colts, I'm not sure that Jonathan Taylor will be back yet this week. I think that's an important factor. How many points? You tell me that running backs are worth nothing against the spread. Are you telling me if Jonathan Taylor comes back full health, this doesn't go to like plus minus 2.5 something?
I mean, maybe he's worth only because they don't have their backup as well, right? So it's a bigger drop off from what they have. Although I'll tell you, Jackson didn't look terrible. I think that Deion Jackson's their best option as a Hines just didn't get a
He
shot
looked
there.
fine.
I mean,
so on that note, I didn't even think of this, but if Jonathan Taylor's out and Nyheim Hines is out, is it Deion Jackson chalk week?
It's Deion Jackson is the guy. I think there he looked better. Who's the other running back there that I'm forgetting? The other back. Oh, Lindsey, Philip Lindsey.
Oh yeah, Lindsey didn't.
Lindsey looks done. Yeah, Lindsey's done, and I think it's going to be Deion Jackson. So we did not have Taylor. This is Wednesday that we're recording this. Taylor was not at practice and not even seen. He was not there at all at practice today. So I'm going to assume he's probably out this week. It's still early. We'll see. But if he is,
you know who else wasn't at practice?
Who's that?
Philip Lindsey.
Was he not?
Yeah, I mean, he just on non-disclosed something.
He had a reason to be out.
Don't know. Don't have a direct line into Indianapolis's front office, but Lindsey wasn't there. He's got the cue. Deion Jackson and Lindsey split touches pretty evenly last week.
But one of them looked good and one didn't.
That is true. But
we'll see. But you never know with these coaches in the NFL. It's just it's brutal. But if I had to lean one side here, I don't know if it's a smash spot. I haven't looked at it that close. I assume his price is pretty low.
They did elevate the price point on DraftKings. But if I know FanDuel, and I do, over on FanDuel, that price is going to be super cheap.
Usually soft, yeah.
He's going to be very inexpensive. Imagine the egg on my face when he's like 6,800. I don't know what he is. I haven't looked it up, so I will. But yeah.
Let me give you from a betting standpoint. We did see sharp money come in on the Colts earlier in the week, which is interesting. I mean, both of these teams have been. I mean, Jacksonville. I was really starting to believe in Jacksonville, and then they come and throw a 9-6.
Everybody gives them such a hard time. They had the bad game. It's fine.
It's not so much having a bad game. You could lose. It's like not being able to put points up against Houston is a little troubling in that game. And but I hate going against the team coming off just a really bad performance. And that's what the Sharps did here this week. They took the call. I mean, it wasn't like the Colts played all that great. They should have lost their game. I mean, that was one of the worst games of the year that we had to suffer through on Thursday night against Denver. That was brutal. Should have easily lost that game.
Oh, by the way, I lost a terrible bet. Well, I lost a bet on that, and I'm so mad about it, John. It was the easiest under of the year. That part was no problem, and I cashed it like a boss. But I bet Denver. I'm never betting Denver again.
I had the Colts, but I had the Colts. I should have pushed, or I had them at 3.5. So I should have just won that bet anyway. And then they shouldn't have won the game outright.
Tell me about this play. All right. You're going to bring memories back. So explain to me, this is Russell Wilson, the guy who knows better than any other quarterback in the league not to throw risky throws on fourth down. 4th and 1. It's 4th and 1. You're up. There's less than 2 minutes left, and you're up by 3, and the other team cannot score a touchdown to save their life.
It was not 4th down. That was 3rd down.
Oh, it was 3rd and 1.
So what? Yeah. So here's the thing.
Under 2 minutes.
I could get behind throwing the ball, but throwing the ball in the end zone doesn't end the game. Now it pretty much ends the game. I'm talking about if you caught the touchdown, right?
The first down.
The first down does
1 yard.
The game. That's it.
1 yard.
So get 1 yard while you're throwing the ball in the end zone is beyond me. If you were going to throw, it's got to be, one of those really high percentage type of passes, real quick little hitter where you could get 1 yard, or you're running the ball. I mean, I probably would have ran the ball there, but the last thing you want to do is throw the ball in the end zone. You didn't want to score. You wanted to just get a first down. These coaches it's remarkable that, granted, if they score the touchdown, yeah, you feel great. And then when you get that Jet Cleveland situation happen to you, you're like, oh, maybe we should have just not scored. Like, how do you not know this as a coach? I'm sitting there watching the game as a bettor going, well, I'm getting 3.5. I'm like, all right, just get the first down. I want this game I don't want it to go to overtime, right? Just get a first down. Game's over. No, they're throwing the ball in the end zone. I'm shocked. And to throw an interception, Russ is just unbelievable.
Again, or miss the first down on the run. Okay. Let's kick a field goal with a great field goal kicker. We go up by 6 against a team that has no timeouts left and can't score touchdowns. They have no one to throw
exactly. To. The field goal was fine. The absolute last thing you want to do is throw the ball in the end zone. That was the dumbest call of all time.
But then they did it again in overtime.
That was him proving that he was right the first time.
But he's such an idiot. Nathaniel Hackett has made so many bad. Anyway, we spent way too much time on that because it cost me money. I'm still salty about it.
But yeah, no, listen, the Colts are coming off. Like I said, you got two teams coming into this game. The Colts probably should have lost. Jacksonville did lose. Both played awful offensive games. So we'll see. We'll see where it is. But the public is taking the Colts, and I don't even have to look, but I did. It's almost all of the money's coming in on the under because, listen, after those performances last week, no one's going to trust these offenses. And quite frankly, in DFS, I'm not sure what you could possibly do here.
There's nothing good.
To find anything.
Just avoid the only
other than maybe the Jackson play. We'll see.
Yeah, or I have Jackson's 5,600 on FanDuel. I looked it up, and that's super cheap. So that could be playable on FanDuel, almost as a specific FanDuel play. The only other angle I could really think of is without their running backs, maybe the Colts throw a little bit more to Pittman and Pierce, and maybe it's that unusual game where Pittman finally has a good game or Pierce pops off again. All right, next up we've got the Panthers. No more Matt Rule. I don't even think that Matt Rule was a bad coach, John. I just think he was working with some poor quality ingredients.
I don't disagree with you. I know that's Gargano's boy.
It's not even for that. I mean, he is, and they're buddies, and
they
whatever.
were I believe they were. Did he go 4-0 when he had Darnold and C-Mac together? I think
there was a point where they won a few games early.
Yeah, but they didn't have that many games together.
No, and also Darnold was just smoke and mirroring it. You know, they've had very bad quarterback play on this team, and it continues. I think this is a really tough situation for Carolina. Going out on the road, angry Rams. Rams have been awful, so they need to get right. This is probably a decent get right spot for them. Rams need to get some shit figured out too, though. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'd lay 10.5. You know, there is the new coach narrative. And I'm sorry, but like there is evidence that when a team fires a coach, but my problem with that, when a team fires a coach, it's like a refresh start for the team. They usually come out fired up the next game. But that's usually a hated Urban Meyer style coach where the whole team is ready to revolt. I don't even think that was the case here. I just think that, listen, even I don't even know what Carolina's owner was thinking firing Matt Rule midseason. Like, what benefit is that going to do? Probably nothing. I wouldn't have done this move at all. But I don't think there's that backlash of the team being like, oh, finally the tyrant is gone. I don't really see that. I don't think that's what's going to come of this. I don't know that I haven't heard anything that the team didn't like the guy.
I would say the team has a better shot at rallying around there being no Baker Mayfield on the field
yes,
than they do the coach.
Fucking
so we'll see what PJ Walker can do. I know him from the USFL. And
he was not good. He's not a good player.
Played last year. I think played a little bit. He played in the Cam Newton game, the Arizona game. I remember him play. He played. Didn't play well.
He has not played well. He's had a few starts. I did look it up. He's not like a running quarterback that we can kind of rely on a little leg work out of either. There's nothing going on with PJ Walker that makes me interested. The whole Carolina team here cannot be touched. The only positive thing I could say about them is the salary levels at this point for McCaffrey are getting to the point where even his floor games, which are usually 15 to 17 fantasy points, that's kind of okay for like where he's at now. Well, they've got him down pretty low.
Here's what you worry about in this game. I mentioned it before. The Rams, #1 team against the running back so far in fantasy, and they don't have anything else to worry about.
Yeah, it's not a good scene. They have Jalen Ramsey to negate DJ Moore if you needed that. So this is a really ugly spot. I'm not touching the Carolina offense. I don't really love the Rams offense either. It's all Cooper Kupp, and I'd rather kind of see Cooper Kupp in maybe more competitive spots than this. And it legitimately is all Cooper Kupp. You can't touch the running backs. So for me, this game is a pass complete. And I'm not betting it.
I did take a bet on this game, and again, I'm going to leave that one for the subscribers.
Yeah, so greedy. So all right. So since you're not sharing those bets, listen, if you guys are in DFS Army, I got a little something for you. You want John's bets? He gives them out. He tracks them on the Sharp app. You can see his picks. So go to sharp.app, go to the website. If you're subscribed at DFS Army already as a VIP subscriber, we've got this all set up for you. Go to sharp.app, get signed up for a pro account with promo code DFS Army. It's going to give you the first month free. That's it. It's that simple. It'll make your first month. It's $24.99 a month, which is ridiculous anyway. We got it half price for the entire football season. It was $49.99. We got it $24.99 for the whole football season, and you get the first month free. Use promo code DFS Army if you don't like it. You don't want to have this info, props, all that stuff. You can cancel. It's really easy. So go sign up at Sharp app right now. You can download it, but it's much easier to put the promo code in on the website sharp.app.
14-8. 14-8 in the NFL regular season so far. So
you could be tailing 14-8 for John Statsational Alessia on his pro picks, on his track bets. That is ridiculous, by the way. That's a spectacular against the spread record. Go. If you like to bet on things and you don't want John's 14-8, you can go. There are services where you could pay $300, $400, $500 a month and get picks from fire picks from cowboy hat wearing experts and the fire picks, and they're going to make a video screaming about how fire their pick is. You can do that too if you don't want to spend $400 or $500, or go to the Sharp app where you can actually talk to Sharp bettors in the Discord. John, Anthony, Steve, myself. I don't even consider myself a Sharp bettor, but I'm in there fucking talking shit, getting ridiculous, betting like a lunatic.
Your bets have been good.
The bets win, but I still don't consider myself a Sharp bettor. I listen to you. I listen to Gargano. I listen to Anthony. I listen to smarter people than me.
That's a good lesson in life, is always listen to people who know more about a topic. That's why, that's why I come to you for the fantasy advice on especially seasonal, even though I didn't want to mention it, but now that we're talking about it, the season-long league that we're in together, you're not doing very well.
No, I'm right in the middle of play in an NFC, and I have barely managed it. I forgot about it. I left we got to put
waivers in tonight.
I forgot to take a player out. Jacoby Myers was out one week. I took a 0, but I'm in 6th place in the league. But considering I totally forgot to, the problem is, you take me off of Sleeper onto some other random app that's not the Sleeper app. I'm just not looking at it, and then I forget about it. I'm like trying to remember all these leagues I'm in. I've got a guillotine league. I got a lot of shit going on.
That's my problem. All right, what do we got? Arizona, Seattle.
All right, next up, Arizona. Okay, so
we finally got a game here.
We're coming to the last 2 games, and back in earlier this season, we'd be calling this the core 2. There are 2 games that stand out above all others on this slate, and this is one of them. Arizona at Seattle. Arizona 2.5-point road favorites with a 50.5-point game total. Now, John, Seattle is the team. I can't wait to see what your numbers say. I want you to tell me how many points above expectation I can expect on each position group when they're playing against the Seattle Seahawks. Give me the numbers.
All right. You want that? I'll give you that.
I need those numbers.
So you want the Seahawks defensive numbers, right?
Yes.
How many points they're giving up?
Yes.
So they are giving up to the quarterback, and it's not even close. They're in their last place, almost 12 points over the average.
It's ridiculous.
To quarterbacks, they're giving up. No, I mean 6.
You can only imagine what that means for the wide receivers.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is they've actually been decent against wide receivers. You know where the points are going? They're giving up far the most. Yeah, tight end and running back. They're giving up close to 8 points over the averages to both of those positions. Shockingly, they're really close to the average. The thing is, the teams that they play, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like with Detroit and all, those averages have been pretty good. Yeah,
it's skewed because there was the Hawkinson game, by the way.
And the Hawkinson game.
Yeah, you got to throw some of that out. So because this is a short season, I remember the Hawkinson game. Of course, it's going to say that because Amon-Ra was out. Hawkinson got all the work. Forget all of that. That was just the Hawkinson game. But what it's telling you, the quarterback number tells the tale. It says this team gives up a shitload of points to offenses, right? And you're telling me the running backs also are scoring a shit ton of points against these guys. And which brings it back to my theorem that Seattle is the team in 2022 to target offenses against. And you take a piece of Seattle as well. Now, John, I got to tell you something. Kyler Murray hasn't been floating my boat at all this year. It's not my guy, right? Looks off. Never going to get super excited about playing him. But in this spot, you've got to play some Kyler Murray, pair him up with Zach Ertz, Marquise Brown, We got Rondale Moore last week of no DeAndre Hopkins. And there's no real power running back on this team. There's a situation going on with Jimmy Connors, with Damian
Williams.
or Darrell. What's
Yeah.
that? The Williams brother that is on this team. So it's Eno Benjamin.
Yeah.
Maybe. Now, I'll be fucking super excited to start Eno Benjamin if those other guys are out. I am locking button that 150 lineups, Eno 150. Remember Emo Phillips? I always think of him when I say the name Eno Phillips. You know that 90% of people that are watching this have no idea who that person is. I think you have to be a 45-year-old from Brooklyn to know who Emo Phillips is.
Most people do not know.
He's just a weirdo comedian from the 80s or 90s that I don't know why I know who he is. And he wasn't funny.
Wasn't he I'd always see him with like Judy Tenuta, who just passed away.
Oh, really?
I was a big Howard Stern.
Oh my gosh.
Emo Phillips used to be on Howard Stern.
Yeah, that's why I know who he is. Not from watching his comedy. His comedy's terrible. So anyway, Eno Benjamin. On the flip side, I am interested heavily in this Seattle offense. So tell me, give me the numbers for Arizona and points above or below expectation.
On the defensive side?
Yes.
So they've been pretty flat against against quarterbacks. Running back, they're slightly above average. They're actually great against wide receiver. One of the better teams against wide receivers, but absolutely awful against the tight end, which has been a trend for a couple of years, and I would buy into it. So I like it, but I still like game stacking this one. This is one of the few game stackable games.
Yes.
But look to the tight end because let me bring my numbers again.
I'm not
on Seattle side. Yeah, but here's the thing: the Seattle,
they have two tight ends. It's a problem.
That's the problem there. Yeah, but you could take some. I would take a shot here in a game stack using a Fant. I mentioned Fant last week. I forget which show it was. I do so many of these now.
I think he actually scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah, he did. He did get a touchdown.
Yeah.
I said, but they are now third best points to the tight end offensively. Seattle. You're going up against one of the worst teams for the last 2 years now, defending the tight end. The trick is picking the right one, but I like game stacking, and you could throw the tight ends in here to get your game stacks a little cheaper. I like that.
I mean, that's fine, but again, it's really tough with Seattle and between Disley and Noah Fant.
Well, if you're making one lineup, sure, it becomes start. But if I'm when I'm mass entering a GPP, I'm gonna have I want to make sure I got shares of the Seattle tight ends.
I have to tell you that Gino is going to be one of my Gino breaks a Burns Millie Maker rule of only taking favored quarterbacks, right? So Burns' Shark Lab Millie Maker rule, one of them is only take favored quarterbacks. Just make that what you do, right? And I like that. The reason I'll allow for this exception is because Seattle could win this game. I really think, it's not out of the question. If I'm betting this game, I'm taking the 2.5 points. I think they could win. I think it's a close game either way. Either team can win. I'm taking the points. So because of that, I don't mind going against the no underdog quarterback rule and getting a little taste of Gino here. I really love what I'm seeing out of him, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I am a jaded Jets fan. I still remember him getting punched in the face by some no-name linebacker on the team back when he was the starting quarterback from the Jets, and that disrespect almost like ruining his career, which is unfair, but it's just what happened. And I never thought of him as good, but watching the tape the past couple of weeks, I think he's actually good. Like, he was completing bombs. He was completing passes that it's not like the smoke and mirror passes that I see from Zach Wilson on the Jets right now, where he's, it's just different. He's landing bombs to wide receivers in stride. That pass to Tyler Lockett was amazing. He seems to understand that if you just throw it to DK Metcalf, he'll probably go up and get it no matter where you put it. He's doing a lot of things right. I don't know what the hell's going on. Up is down, left is right. Cats and dogs living together. It's chaos. But why not embrace the chaos of Geno Smith, not a bad quarterback at all? And in that case, I'm loading up on Geno. I like the price. He's $5,700. He's super, super cheap considering what he's been doing. And it's really easy to pair him up with just two, you added in the tight ends. So I go Metcalf in a tight end. You could go Lockett in a tight end. There's a lot of different ways to stack that up and do big game stacks. As you said, I'm off the game stack as a complete philosophy, but I don't mind it in this one.
I agree. And when you look at Geno, he's been an upgrade over Wilson. Certainly, well, obviously Wilson's been terrible, but Wilson was bad last year. Like, I don't know where, it wasn't like this isn't a total shock to me, because when you watch, there's a lot of issues with Denver, the coach being one of them, but Russ is missing. When Russ does have a guy open, he's missing him.
He's terrible out there. And actually, Kyle Brandt said something really telling when he was talking about Russ. I don't know if you saw this, but Kyle Brandt was talking about it, and he's like, at the, ESPYs or whatever award show for sports figures he was referring to. It's like at the ESPYs, Aaron Rodgers comes up and talks to us like as he's walking down the thing. And Kyle Brandt is one of the NFL personalities. And like this one walks up to us and he says hi. And Russell Wilson and Ciara walk by like, no. And put the hand up in your face with the sunglasses on. And the implication was that Russell's just kind of a douche.
I'm going to tell you, like, his act would wear really, really thin on me if I was a player. And I said this a couple of years ago, they had him mic'd up. His rah-rah, like, it comes off as fake. And if you're not performing to the Russell Wilson of 5 years ago, if I'm playing on that team, I want to punch you in the face if you keep giving me the rah-rah nonsense when you suck, right? Don't tell me, like, I hate it. I hate the goody.
I didn't see the mic'd up, so I didn't get a chance.
This was mic'd up like a couple of years ago that he was on there and he was like, he was getting, and I'm like, boy, it might've been last year. And I said, this guy would drive me bananas. Like, it would drive me bananas. Like, where you get a Brady, like the team sucks, he sucks, and I'd much rather Brady screaming and yelling at me than having a guy who's doing shit, with the constant like, there's a time to pat a guy on the ass, and there's a time to scream and yell at him. His whole good guy act would wear really thin. Like I said it then. I wish I could find
a good guy act. I have no idea what
I mean, it could be him, because he's super religious and he's got the whole
I don't know about any of this. He's
Russell Wilson's like, he gives you the whole. Have you seen the really weird commercial that he did for like?
I hate the commercial that he did. Yeah. It creeps me out.
That's it. He's a weird dude, and I'm like, everything works. All sorts of personalities work when you're good. You're like, I'm going to put up with whatever. Like, Tom Brady wants to yell at me. He wants to like punch me in the face. Like, Tom Brady, all right, I'm gonna deal with it. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I should say, like, Tom Brady used, like, in a friendly way with Ed Reed. I don't know if you saw that one a couple of years ago when he dropped in the N-word on him.
No, I did not.
Oh, that was like it was on like NBC. Like, Ed Reed was, I think it was Patriots Baltimore, or it might have been Tampa Baltimore.
What?
And Ed Reed was at the game, and he saw Ed Reed, and he was like, they were hugging each other, and he was talking to him like he would talk to his buddy, and you use the N-word. I'm like, only Tom Brady could get away with that because he's Tom Brady.
I'm not even sure Tom Brady could get away with that.
Dude, he said it right on NBC, and it was all over the place, but they're like, he said it, in a friendly way.
Said it in a loving, oh my God. All right. Anyway, I don't want to go. I don't want to delve.
I didn't want to go there, but I'm like, but people will, when you're good and you're winning, your team will deal with all sorts of things. I think this team is really close to turning on.
Well, they just paid
Russell Wilson
something like $300 million or $250 million, so they're gonna have to deal with him
for a while.
Yeah, I just think he's not good anymore.
He's not.
It's unfortunate. Let's hope. Maybe it turns around for them, but it's gross. I want to bet against them. Where is Denver on this fucking? Oh, there they are. Ooh, okay, yeah. Let's take.
That's a night game.
I can't wait to bet against those motherfuckers, but. We got one last game. And again, this is the game to end all others. One game to rule them all. That's a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, that's why I went over my head.
Yeah. One game to rule them all. All right.
Any sci-fi, I don't know.
Oh my God. It's fantasy, not sci-fi. And you like fantasy football. It all goes together. I'm going to change my name to the Fantasy Geek so I can talk about Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones as well as football.
How exciting.
Would you check into a podcast of me just talking about the latest episode of Rings of Power?
I already see too much of you. I don't need to see anymore.
God damn it. All right. The Bills at the Chiefs, 54-point total. The Bills, the Chiefs, the glory of the regular season is on the line here. Love this game. It's super close. Number one, have you bet the Bills yet? Are you going to?
I already did.
Today, tomorrow. When do we
Two
put
and a
the money
half.
down? You got to take the 2.5.
Yeah, you want to get you want to get it before it's at 3, and it is at 3 at some places. So you want to get this.
Mental note: I will be betting that right at the end of the show, and just before we do the showdown breakdown. Like, I got about a window of 10 minutes. So, love Buffalo in this spot. Now, here's the one thing: massive total. Could this be a disappointment for DFS purposes, John? These kind of games kind of sometimes go that way. But there's a couple of it's hard from the Bill side. The Bills are going to smash. They are going to smash. So it's the KC side I'm a little nervous about. I watched Kansas City's offensive line get manhandled in last week's game. I don't remember who they played, but I watched it was it was the Raiders of all teams, and they manhandled them to the point where Mahomes was really under a lot of pressure. I did get a live bet in on KC, and I'm going to advise everybody this. If you get KC as 7-point favorite, and then they go down by 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, you want to bet on that. I put it out in the sharp.
I saw you put it in the chat. Now, if you saw what I said,
you said wait till halftime, which
wait till halftime, which would have worked as well. Your bet obviously worked
just because.
How many times have they done this? We talk about it all the time. Like, how many times have they? But it's Andy Reid, right? It's Andy Reid being. I'm going to give him credit for being really good at adjusting, because they adjusted super well. They did not look like the same team. They were under duress. Mahomes was under duress. The running backs couldn't get anything going. So Andy Reid's really good at those halftime adjustments, or maybe it's Bieniemy, which is a joke. We don't hear anything about Bieniemy anymore. I see that guy literally standing on the sideline doing nothing. All it is Andy Reid calling plays, and then Nagy is the guy talking to Mahomes when he comes off the field.
Listen, it's Andy Reid. He's a good coach. He's a very good coach, but also it's Pat Mahomes as a very good player, recognizing what he's seeing. But here's the thing. So both of these quarterbacks are priced the same in DFS. You want to take Allen, you want to take Mahomes. To me, it's a very, very easy choice of Josh Allen. He is the better play. He's facing a sort of middling defense where Pat Mahomes is facing the number one defense against the quarterback position, a top defense with some elite players. And Mahomes is very, very hamstrung with his wide receiver group right now. And we're starting to see it outside of Travis Kelce, who is the safety net. And they're having a hard time really sort of getting any of these guys going. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's kind of dust. I don't know what's up with that guy.
He looked awful.
He looks great on TikTok doing the moves, the videos and shit, like his dance moves, spectacular. But when it comes to football, I don't know. And he's only like 25. He's a younger player, but he seems a little dusty right now. The best player on the team is absolutely Marquez Valdez-Scantling at the pass count. I mean, I don't know about Sky Moore or anybody who doesn't get snaps, but of the guys who are starting, it's Hardman, Juju, and Scantling. MVS is the best of them, and he drops a lot of passes too, but at least he kind of has some life in his legs. So for me, the way I see it, if I'm playing Mahomes, I'm kind of looking to pair him up with Valdez-Scantling and Kelce. Don't like a lot else what's going on. The running back position for the Chiefs is just impossible to predict week to week. I am not down with any of that. They had Pacheco going last week. Then the next week they had 2 weeks ago. Then last week they had, quite honestly, Jerick McKinnon looked like the best guy. I don't know what the hell goes on with their running backs. I ain't screwing with it. But the flip side is on the Bills, there's so many pieces to like. Josh Allen, there's no real tight end right now. Knox has been hurt. I don't know if he's coming back, which means all the looks are going to go to Diggs, Davis, and whoever the WR3 might be for this week. Another thing, John, I think Isaiah McKenzie, even if he comes back this week, is now splitting straight up with Tupac Shakir at the WR3 spot.
He probably is. I would give him the slight edge, but when you're looking at it from a DFS standpoint, if they're splitting it, it's going to be really tough. So,
and they're both priced a little too high for a split roll.
You want to hear the numbers for Buffalo is crazy on offensively. So top quarterback, 13.5 points over average of his opponents. And then wide receiver, they're almost 21 points better than their opponent's average, which is insane. Nobody's close to that. And then they're lacking at the tight end. So they have no tight end that you have to really worry about here from a DFS standpoint. You're looking strictly at Allen, of course, and the pass and the wide receivers. But the problem you've had game stacking in the Buffalo games is you just haven't been able to do it because the defense is just too strong. Now you're facing.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't think you need to game stack this at all. I don't think it's necessary. I'd like to, but I don't think you need to.
I agree with you. I wouldn't. And I like the Buffalo side of this game a whole lot more. But I don't mind. You take it with a comeback. Like, I don't mind playing an Allen with one of the pass catchers, whichever one you want to go with there, and then coming back with one player for Kansas City. That I'm good with if you want to do Kelsey or
I'm not avoiding
MVS.
I'm not purposefully avoiding it.
Yeah, I'm not throwing 5 players in on this game.
I'm not even throwing one in lock. So the way I'm going to approach this game, I'll have exposure to Valdez-Scantling just because I don't mind him this week, and I'll certainly try to get some exposure to Kelsey. From the way that I've put lineups together already, and I've experimented, you can't have a luxury tight end with Josh Allen. You will not be able to. You know what? I say you won't be able to, and then everybody DMs me their lineups that have them Kelsey and Allen in it. So let me preface this by saying it won't be a very good looking lineup if you do this. Like,
not a lineup you would play, but yes, you can.
I don't want to play that version of a lineup, but because everybody then DM, look, I got him in there. You probably will. And if Emo Phillips Benjamin cheat code is available this week, that might change things a little bit as well. But like in general, it's hard to bring it back with Kelsey. You do Allen Diggs, no way. You do Allen and like the other guys, Davis, it's not even such a bargain. You're basically paying up significantly for whatever the stack is. And Gabriel Davis is priced up now too. And then Shakir and the other guy and McKenzie also priced a little too high. Again, Shakir is great if there's no McKenzie, but I don't think that'll happen. So the comebacks are tough. It's only really Valdez-Scantling sub 5K. The rest of those wide receivers on KC, they're shit. I'm sorry. They're shit.
I would say that I think you're going to get some pretty good leverage by being under the market on Kelsey this week. I would lean that way just because the Buffalo defense is so good and they're really good. I know he's a different kind of player, but they're one of the best, if not the best, if I look at it again. Second best to tight end so far this year. So if you were ever going to get a spot where fading Kelsey was a good idea, I think this is the week.
What about the under?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, everyone's like, we're looking at this game. 54. I think it's too many points. What's the best? Who's the best of the 4 sides of the ball? To me, the best of all 4 sides of the ball is the Buffalo defense.
I think it's Buffalo offense.
You think Buffalo offense is better than the defense?
Yes.
I actually think their defense is the best unit in football.
They're really good, but their offense is the best unit.
No, I mean we're
splitting
hairs. We're splitting hairs, but I agree. I would only argue with you to a point. I could totally get behind that as well. But so that's why I like Buffalo. I like Buffalo in the game. But and the last time they played, right? Kansas City beat them last year, correct?
They beat them in the play. I mean, yeah,
in the playoffs. Yeah, that was the in the game. So I think this sets up. Now they're in Kansas City. Obviously, it's a little difficult to play in Kansas City, but I think this sets up well for Buffalo. But the under, I could get behind the under in this game. Like, that's why I really there's we're going through the games each and every week, and you're just seeing. And we've talked about game stacking has not been that good. You got to pick your spots with it, and I think that Arizona game is the good spot. It's been the Seattle game. I liked Seattle New Orleans.
I love
last
it for
week.
The Arizona.
I liked Seattle Detroit the week before. That's almost won me the million.
The Arizona game is the game stack,
and that's the only one. Yeah, that's the only one that you can really go to, and so I don't like getting too heavy on this game, but you just can't. The potential is that, listen, Allen put up a shit ton of points against Pittsburgh, and we talked about this last week. We're like, listen, he might be a 14-point favorite, but he'll have, they'll have 28 points at the half, and I think he did. He had himself. I think he had like 29. They pulled
the starters, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, and we were afraid. We said that might happen, and it did, because he's a special type of player. Now you get him in a situation where maybe if the game script could turn into up and down the field where maybe the Buffalo defense doesn't stop Mahomes. I mean, it is still Mahomes.
Mahomes is really good. It's going to be hard to hold him
down. They're
down.
not stopping Allen.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to stop Allen. The question is, can Buffalo stop Mahomes? But they're not stopping Allen. So, yeah, I like this spot for the Allen. Certainly for the Buffalo side, it could get into a situation where a game stack becomes good here. But I think the pieces are going to be too expensive to really want to do that.
Let me ask you a question from an MME perspective. So as you look over the slate, and I know you, John, you're making 300 lineups every Saturday every Sunday for the main, maybe 450. So my question for you, with all those lineups being made, knowing that there are 3 quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen, all priced the same, essentially in a scenario where you need to have the highest scoring of them to win the tournament, period. Like, you're not winning if you don't catch the right one. How do you split your exposures specifically for those 3 quarterbacks? Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all the same price.
It's not that simple a question to answer here, but I will say,
I feel like it's simple.
Well, I mean, the simple answer is, well, I'm just going to evenly chop them up, right? But that's not necessarily the case. It's going to there's going to be some correlation there on how much I'm going to use stacks in the game. So you can, with those quarterbacks, Lamar and Allen. Who was the other quarterback that we mentioned?
Mahomes,
in that?
Allen,
and Mahomes.
Lamar.
Yeah, Mahomes. You really don't want to. You don't want to put out on himself, but you can actually play Allen or. Yeah, no, of the 3, I'm definitely going to be under Mahomes over the other 2, more so, right? So it's not going to be a third on my splits on them. So Mahomes would be the lowest of them all. But the reason I'm saying it's a little difficult because Allen, I could play Allen. I feel more comfortable, as well as Jackson, with none of his. I don't play a lot of them, but you could actually play him with no pass catchers and catch a game where he gets 2 or 3. I wouldn't suggest doing that.
I don't do it
as a regular thing. I'll do a few lineups like that on occasion. It's difficult to win.
I've never seen it win. I've looked at Millie Maker winners.
It's very hard. Yeah, knowing the Millie Maker, it's difficult. It's difficult to find a winner doing that. But I play some weird ones. And it'll only be 1 or 2. I did it with Jalen Hurts a few weeks ago. I think I had maybe 4 Jalen Hurts solo line. It didn't work. So maybe it's not a good idea. But I will do it on occasion with those type of guys. But yeah, for the most part, you do need to be the correlation with the pass catchers. So we'll see. But if I had to fade one of them, it's definitely Mahomes, just because that defense could potentially shut him down. I wouldn't be shocked if Buffalo actually handles them easily in the game.
That's what I'm saying. Number 1, smash that bet. Easy. But number 2, yeah, it seems to me like you play this game out 10 times, 8 out of 10 times, Josh Allen is going to outscore Pat Mahomes from a fantasy perspective because he has a much better matchup. It's just a better matchup for Allen, and Allen just tends to score more than Mahomes. Allen averaging 32.1 DraftKings points per game on the season, where Mahomes is averaging 25.6, and they're the same salary. So that is a significant enough difference. That's not a statistically insignificant. Allen is a full 20 to 25% fantasy performance above what Mahomes has been on the season for the same price. The same price. That's like my neighbors who go over, there's like, we got a fancy supermarket in town, and we have like a ShopRite. I got some friends of mine like, I don't go to ShopRite, I go to the fancy one. I'm like, you get better milk there? What's the benefit? I'm getting the same product, but I got to pay more money for it. Milk is milk. Eggs are eggs, John. There's no difference. There's no difference.
The organic.
You're an organic eggs guy. I bet. No, fuck the organic. They have organic eggs at the ShopRite. They have the organics. By the way, organic egg is the same yolk. By the way, an organic egg is exactly the same thing as a non-organic egg.
No, you can see the difference. You get that nice bright orange yolk on the organic.
I like antibiotics in my food.
Well,
Fucking kills the bacteria in your body.
It does. It kills all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I don't want biotics.
No, you don't want any bacteria.
I'm fully against biotics. I'm against them.
You're very anti-biotic.
I am against them.
Yeah.
I don't want any biotics anywhere. I don't touch a door. That's how much I hate biotics.
What was her name? What's her name? From Halloween, the actress.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. And she used to do the probiotic commercial.
She loves biotics. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Me and Jamie Lee, opposite ends of the spectrum. She's pro. I'm anti.
Yeah, she looks better with her shirt off, or at least she did. Maybe not now. She's about 70.
They got a whole new Halloween. Yeah. The final.
I know. I saw. That's it. It's done.
She finally cuts his head off. At that point, you can't come back to life.
It's over.
Just chop the head. All right. On that decapitation note, chop the head off your bookie this week and smash them by playing those bets that we talked about. A couple bets I think that we got to get on. I know the Bills. I forgot what we talked about, John. Which were the ones that we said? Yeah, I like the Bills here for sure. I like Seattle a little bit, getting points. I like Cincinnati, given 1.5. Minnesota. Oh, now I got to pay 3.5. I'm going to see if I can get it for 3. Tampa, San Francisco, love San Francisco. So, and of course, Baltimore over the Giants. So a lot of interesting and very playable games here for this week. And of course, the DFS plays. Make sure you're signed up over at DFS Army. Promo code Geek gets you 10% off. We're starting up NBA here really shortly. We're getting geared up for it. It's going to be an exciting time. And of course, if you're a DFS Army subscriber and you want to get a free month of Sharp app, go to sharp.app, get signed up for the monthly. If you put in promo code DFS Army, you will get your first month free. Sharp Pro. John is 14-8, you said?
I was 14-8. I was looking at it yesterday.
Man, I got to track my bets because...
well, when you have the Sharp app, right? So there's a filter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You can see all your bets. There's a filter in there for sport.
Oh, yeah. You just track your bets. There you go.
That was it. I was just looking at Sports Specific, and I'm like, 14-8. Nice.
14-8. Not too bad. So, and you could see John's bets when you have the Sharp app Pro. It shows each staffer's bets as well. So make sure to check that out. I will see you guys next time. We'll be back on Friday with Tournament Tactics, everybody's favorite, GPP show here on the channel. And of course, content throughout the week. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys next time on another Game Plan.